Hello there, Ray Livingston here. A question that I've been getting is why hunt predators? Why hunt apex predators? And first and foremost, I will say it's my humble opinion that these predatory animals belong in and are an important part of our ecosystem. It's not my desire to wipe them out of the ecosystem. I think they're integral and important part of it. However, because they are not being hunted by anything, human or animal, to any significant level, their population levels are very high. Now, I also do not believe that hunting is going to have a large or detrimental effect on the numbers of these apex predators. There's just not enough hunters anymore, and there's not enough hunters that are specifically targeting these animals to have a significant effect on their populations. So that's kind of the big argument for predator hunting and control is population control. And again, I don't think hunting is the answer. However, hunting does actually affect the behavior of those animals. When those animals are actively being pursued by humans, then they develop and maintain a healthy fear of humans and human establishments. So they're less likely to hang out around houses and homes, and less likely to prey upon our pets and some of our livestock because they have that healthy fear of humans. In Washington, hound hunting for cougars, for example, and bears was outlawed in 1996. Since then, we've got about four generations of bears and cougars that have come since hound hunting was outlawed. And what we're finding now is that it's not uncommon at all for cougars to let humans walk within 20 or 30 feet of them before they spook off. Now cougars are not particularly human aggressive. They're not really a dangerous animals to humans, except for when they're starving. But if they're not afraid of humans and they let humans walk within 20 feet of them, in those cases where they're starving, then the chances that they may actually cross over and choose to attack a human as prey become higher. But also, when they're in that state, being around our homes and ranches and homesteads, they're more likely to predate on our livestock, our pets as well, and then small children become a concern at that point as well too. I recently went out on a cougar conditioning study that is being put on by the Kalispel tribe. Bart George, Bruce Duncan, Jeff Flood being the main people that are on the field doing the study. I went out with them to haze a cat on three separate occasions, but they went out before I became involved, and they got some control data. So that control data on that cougar was that the first time after they had tranquilized it and released it with a collar, they went and found it and walked towards it, playing at 80 decibels on a speaker, just human talking sounds, a podcast. And the first time that cat spooked at around 100 yards. The second time it spooked about 60 yards. And the third time it let them walk to within 11 yards of them. So what you're seeing is that the more positive contacts with people that these cougars and predators have, positive meaning that they experience no negative reinforcement, the closer that they're letting us getting. They learn that it's safe to be close to people. So the second part of the study is then they did that same thing again, but they started after the cougar spooked, they would release dogs and chase it up a tree. So that's where I came in. The first time that they did that, the cougar spooked about 60 yards away, and then it ran about 65 yards. And then they released the hounds, and they treed the cat, and we walked away after that. The second time we went out, the cougar spooked at about 122 yards, and it ran 340 yards to get away before we then released the dogs. Spooked it up a tree, and then we got out of there. And then the third and final time that we hazed that cat, it took off from the sounds of the human talking on the speaker at 80 decibels. It took off at 220 yards. It ran a considerable distance. I didn't get the measurement on that one, but another 300 plus yard run to get away from people. So what that cat shows by tying the human activity, it was able to understand that with the human activity comes this negative reinforcement of getting chased by dogs. So it would react faster and farther away from human activity to stay away from humans, and then use more energy and effort to get away and evade the humans when that repetitive negative stimulation occurred. So they will learn, and and that's the effect of actively hunting them is having those negative reinforcing interactions, whether they're fatal or not. Just having that pursuit will change the activity of the animals. So that's one of the reasons that I hunt them as well. The other, and another main reason for me hunting apex predators, is the fact that they're plentiful right now. They're not endangered, and they're well above biologist management levels, the levels they set to maintain a healthy population that is good for all the flora and fauna that's in the forest. Apex predators, because they're not hunted by any other animals, and because they're not being actively hunted by humans, are way, way, way above their management objective. In essence, the ecosystem is out of balance. Now, eventually, yes, the ecosystem will rebalance itself by the law of natural selection. But in the meantime, there's some human interest involved, and we definitely have human interest in the health of our deer and elk herd. If we can not see that huge ebb and flow, that's indicative of a regular natural selection cycle. Would like that, to maintain a healthy, fairly even level herd. And with the predators out of balance, we can't do that. So for their species, they are abundant. And for example, the example of cougar. Cougar is one of the best tasting meats in the forest. So with a cougar, if they're abundant, they're great tasting, and hunting and harvesting them will have a positive effect on the ecosystem to a small degree. Like I said, hunting isn't going to really control the numbers, but also change that behavior morally and ethically. It's probably one of the best animals that we can hunt. And that's why I'm hunting them. And that's why I'm encouraging others to do so as well. So there's really no reason not to. And I've heard people talk about, humans are encroached on the natural world. And yeah, that's true to some degree. But go fly Oregon, Washington, California even, Idaho, Montana, the areas that are really being affected by these high predator numbers. Go fly them on Google Earth. Like you do have in Washington, you have the Seattle, you have everything, basically anything within 20 miles of I-5, up and down, all the way down through Canada, you have the highest concentration of people. But the rest of those states, and most of those states, is wildland, like suitable habitat for animals. Some of it's owned privately, some of it's owned publicly. But when it comes down to it, the animals don't see those lines. and that is all good natural habitat. While there's humans that have encroached in parts of it and concentrated in little areas and are dispersed throughout it a little bit, there is still a huge amount of wildlands available to them. And that's, again, why they're thriving. You know, if humans were encroaching upon their lands in these states to such a high degree that we're experiencing a lot of depredation and negative human interactions with wildlife, and their numbers were not high, that would be one thing. Their numbers are high, and that's why we're experiencing these things. And that's because we do have so much game, and we do have so much wild lands available, and so much great breeding grounds for them. So there's nothing wrong with hunting them and doing our part to help control them and to change that behavior. And that's what I'm doing. Oh, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, do feel free to comment or write me or contact me, and I will be happy to have a adult conversation with anybody that wants to discuss it. No, do I think that this is something for everybody? No. They are also one of the most difficult animals to hunt, all of the apex predators, because they hunt for a living. That's what they do all day, every day, you know. And so if a sportsman wants to truly test themselves as a hunter or grow as a hunter, hunting apex predators is a great way to do it. It's not easy. It's not by any means easy. And you have to know your craft and understand the animals, understand the terrain and topography, and understand the ungulate population and their movements. There's a lot that goes into it. And in doing the research and homework and groundwork that's necessary to harvest them, you'll find you're going to be a better hunter. You'll find you're going to be a better woodsman. And for me, I think you'll find that you'll have a greater appreciation of the balance of our ecosystem and what it takes to maintain it. Anyway, I wish you all the best, and thank you for hearing me out and listening to me. You guys have a great day.